डालस क्या हाल है क्या हाल है क्या हाल है मैं हूं आपका दोस्त आपका साथी DJ Moody Akhtar on Fun Asia Radio 104.9 FM on our leaders journey where we bring you leaders across the globe जिनसे हम आप सब बहुत कुछ सीख सकते हैं जितने लोगों ने हमें ट्यून इन किया है आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया टुडे आई एम ऑनर्ड एंड प्रिविलेज्ड टू हैव मिस्टर Abidali Neemuchwala at the studios of Fun Asia Radio, co-founder Dallas Venture Capital, chairman and CEO Compass Digital Acquisition Corp. Welcome, Mr. Abidali Neemuchwala.
Abid Neemuchwala was the CEO of Wipro, one of the largest global IT services firms in the world, from 2016 to 2020. Prior to Wipro, Abid built and managed Tata Consultants Services business process outsourcing businesses. Among other leadership roles held, Abid served on the board of directors of Vert USA Corporation and is a co-founder and director of Dallas Venture Capital, a capital fund that has a presence in the US and India.
Once again, Mr. Abidali, Abid Bhai, welcome to the studios of Fun Asia. I'm so fortunate and happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Abid Bhai, very impressive background. I don't know where to start, but I'll start telling you why this show, why Leaders Journey. We have our South Asian and in general mass population listening to Fun Asia Radio, and they all thrive to grow. We all come to this lovely nation with lots of opportunities, and we do our best, work hard to be at some level where we feel happy about what we have accomplished. And seeing your background, it is so impressive. We'll go there. मुझे सबसे पहले आपसे पूछना है आप कहाँ पैदा हुए कहाँ बड़े हुए What was your childhood like, Abid Bhai?
So I was born in Bombay in India, and I still call it Bombay, which is Mumbai now, and I went to school over there. And growing up in South Bombay was fun at that time. This is late 60s, early 70s, when things were not as crowded, and I still today my favorite city is Bombay.
Wow, and I'm sure. So Bombay. So any childhood memories, any stories growing up in Mumbai?
Many of them, but some of the most fond memories are going and watching Sholay,
Wow.
and all of the movies in South Bombay in the movie theaters. I remember I had, after Sholay and Diwar, both of them were released. I'm a big Amitabh Bachchan fan, and I watched Sholay 7 times, both out of school, college, kind of going and sneaking in, and then Diwar as well.
So Sholay से मुझे क्या याद आया कि cassette tapes में भी you would have the whole movie. So we were in Chittagong at that time.
Right.
We came to Calcutta and watched Sholay, by the way,
Right.
and went back with a cassette, and we had memorized the whole movie.
Absolutely.
So going back to what sparked technology in you, and when?
Okay, so that if you ask my parents, especially my mom, she will say that, Bachpan se he used to open up things. I remember opening up the radio. We had bought a new TV. TVs were very new at that time. And I think there was some problem in tuning the TV, and I just tried to fix it. So I was always very attracted to technology, and especially electronics, in which then I did engineering in electronics and communication. And then I was very fond of maths as well. Only later I realized that, math and a knack for technology is very important. So I ended up doing what I was passionate about, fond of, and it became a business and profession for me as well.
It became pretty big business and profession. So from math to technology, which college, how did the transition happen there?
All right. So then I kind of chose physics, chemistry, and math as my majors in high school.
Still remember that.
And then, of course, engineering was the path. So I went to NIT, Raipur, where I did electronics and communications engineering. And then I went to IIT Bombay. So I came back to Bombay. And both the colleges actually, more than just the education, which of course you get great education, and India is, we are very blessed that India has some of the best educational institutions, some of the best infrastructure to be able to get technology education or in general education. But after that, the IT industry was just a budding industry, and then I got a chance to kind of move from IIT Bombay into Tata Consultancy Services, which sealed the deal for me in being in technology for life.
Tata Consulting Services. So, what was your first title as a joinee?
I just joined straight out of college, so I was assistant system engineer trainee.
Assistant systems engineer trainee. Wow.
And it's a very interesting story because at IIT Bombay, everybody in those days wanted to work for American companies, even today. And I had never given an interview. So there was an American bank which was supposed to come for campus interview. And because I'd never given an interview, I went to the thesis interview, which was a day before, to practice interviewing skills. But in those days, the word startup was not very famous, but TCS was a startup. And the person who took my interview was able to paint a whole picture of creating India was not even known for technology or IT in those days. This is 92. And the company was very small. Everybody knew everybody else. Today, it's a 400, 500,000 people company. I just loved the vision that, India had lost out in the manufacturing race to China. And the person, Dr. Jain, who interviewed me, talked about how India can become the talent and technology capital of the world. And saying that way back in early 90s was a very lofty objective. Of course, today, being an Indian, it's taken for granted that you have to be something to do with IT.
Well, once again, Dallas, if you're just tuning in, we are talking to Mr. Abidali Neemuchwala at the studios of Panesha Radio on a leader's journey, produced by Vaishali Thakkar. I'm Moody Akhtar. Once again, having a blast listening to you, Abid Bhai. So going back to the trainee and all the middle level leadership to a CEO of Wipro, right? How would you in few minutes tell our listeners how that journey happens? Because I know personally folks who say, you know what, I'm a level 4, I want to be level 5, I didn't get promotion, how do I become senior director, manager, VP? What is your takeaway and advice to all our tech guys listening to you?
So first of all, I will say that, you have to work hard. There is no alternative to hard work, smart work, do well what you do, deliver the results that are expected of you. But there is also an element of being lucky as well. And one of the things that I personally, most people do most things right. But one of the things that I always tell young people is take risk. Do things that everybody else is not doing. And I kind of, through my journey, if I were to point out one thing that worked very well for me, is to do things that others were not doing. So I'll just give you a couple of examples for that. One is very early in my career, anybody my age, 25, 27 at that time, the objective was to join an IT company and then come to United States on an H1 visa.
Oh, right? Of course.
And then we have thousands of people doing that. And then I was offered to go in 94 when Nelson Mandela was just chosen as the president over there and apartheid got over. Tata Group wanted to enter South Africa to do business because before that, India did not do any business with South Africa. And I was called and asked, and I think many more people before me were called and asked whether if you would like to take this assignment. And luckily for me, a lot of people before me were wiser and said no. I was like a young lad saying, what the heck, let's go ahead and do it. And I ended up becoming the first employee of Tata's to go to South Africa and do a project over there for a medical institution.
Wow. And first one.
And that kind of helped me because, when I said yes and came back, my friends, we were living together as a few people and they all said, are you crazy? Why did you say yes? You won't get a chance to go to the US now. You'll get stuck in South Africa. But what it did is it made me visible amongst, a few hundred people. It made me as an individual visible to the CEO of the company then. The founder of the Indian IT industry, Fakir Chand Kohli, he started recognizing me because I had gone there. When I came back, he wanted to understand how the country is, how business is done over there. And that risk-taking ability, treading a path which not everybody thinks is the right path or the most treaded path, the normal path to do, makes a difference. Similarly, I was enjoying doing programming. I was project manager and then I wanted to move into sales.
Wow,
And-
what a jump, what a shift.
And I kept pestering my bosses that, look, I've done all of this enough. I help with sales. I want to be sales. And one day I get a call and I'm told, look, there is a sales position open in Japan. Can you go? And I said, yes.
What?
Without thinking, I said, yes. Because I heard sales, I did not hear Japan. Only later, when I met all the professional salespeople, they would look at me and chuckle. And I said, what is the issue? They said, Japan is the most difficult place to sell anything. Forget services. But I enjoyed going there. I learned sales there. I learned building relationships. And again, something that not everybody would do. So one of the things I always advise people is do hard work. You have to do what is required of you, but always try and take risk. Always try and do something different, because after all, growth is nothing but being able to do something which is different, and that is why you stand out. And every time you stand out, you get an opportunity to then go to the next level. And companies are very good at rewarding people who do something out of the ordinary for the company. Companies pay back. So that's how I kind of see my journey all the way up to, I can tell you many, many stories, but all the way up to becoming a CEO. I think that one quality stood out very well for me.
So take risk, out of the box thinking, and just go for the things that are not normal, that are challenging. So you just casually said CEO. It's a very big word for Wipro, $40 billion portfolio. How?
So that's again a very interesting story. About midway through my journey at TCS, I got the opportunity to do a very big acquisition for the company. We acquired Citibank's back office operations in India just around the global financial crisis. And I built the BPO business, as you talked about in my profile. And after that, I had done that, so I was enjoying it, but I had built it. It was about 6 years, from $250 million in revenue, about $1.8 billion in revenue. And I said, what next? So I said, let me jump into venture capital, because that was, again, the ability to build new businesses. And then as I was thinking of doing that, and it got announced that I was leaving TCS, I got this opportunity and an offer from Mr. Premji. And you never say no to opportunities of running a public company, coming especially from somebody as legendary as Azim Premji. And I picked that up, and it was a fantastic journey again, because Wipro is a great company and you get to lead that company, lead it into its digital future. And being a CEO, being in the public markets is a great experience for a leader to have, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And more importantly, working with legendary leaders like Premji teaches you so much.
So being at that high level and going from the ground where you were a trainee, you have seen it all in between. So a lot of listeners, a lot of technology folks listening to you, as I said, are craving to grow in the leadership role, in the executive roles, in the corporate ladder, and they have to deal with the bureaucracy and politics, and not everybody gets lucky every day. So what is your humble advice to everybody who wants to be you?
I think there are 3 or 4 things that I would give as my own learnings and experiences, and then people can pick what they think is advice in that. Number 1, do well what you're currently doing. Sometimes I see very bright, smart people thinking so much about what they want to do next that they screw up what they're doing right now.
Love it.
That is number 1. Number 2, I always believe in servant leadership. So you have to be a popular leader amongst your teams, amongst your peers. One of the things I have realized is growth is not only about what you do to grow, but what others feel that should make you grow. Because people don't realize, some very smart people get stunted in their growth because there is like half of the company praying that this guy doesn't grow, and they're complaining and they're talking about that guy, or stuff like that. And that has an impact irrespective of your performance, because leaders are chosen for both performance and a value system and behavior and culture. And sometimes smart people do very well on the performance axis, but they don't do as well. So your colleagues, your friends, even your competitors would want you to grow, your customers. So I think that is the second thing that, humble leadership enables you, servant leadership enables you to do that. And the third is, the military or the sports teach that very well, is you can be a general, you can be sitting in the headquarters, you could be a leader, but don't lose touch of the ground. When your employee on the ground is able to see that my boss understands what I do, it motivates the employee much more. And you as a leader can't be successful if your teams are not making you successful. If every day they are not giving their 150%, and being able to connect the team by communicating to them, by telling them that you understand what they do on the ground every day, by helping them, taking roadblocks out of their way. You talked about politics, taking politics out of the way, enabling them to do what they do best, and making them feel owners of the business rather than just an employee who'd come from 8 to 5 and do what somebody's watching them over to do, is a culture that you need to bring. And I think to build that culture, having a good sense of the details, like sitting in headquarters, how the battle is fought on the field, is very important. So that's how I can open it. A lot of young smart people come and tell me, how should I plan my journey? And sometimes I say, just do the right things and the journey will play out very well for you. Sometimes planning too much can actually confuse you and make you too anxious, and you make mistakes when you're very anxious.
Wow. I just connected to everything you said. Absolutely. Very, very well said. So again, Wipro, $40 billion, April 20th, 2020, world shuts down. Nobody knew we cannot go to the office anymore. We have paid billions and millions everywhere in different parts of the world. Come to the office, do your job. No more. How did you deal with that?
Wow, that was one of the most humbling leadership experiences that I have had throughout my career. I still remember the date when India locked down, because the center of gravity, over 120,000 employees Wipro had in India, was about March 17th, 2020.
March, okay. Yes,
and,
absolutely.
And we had to keep everything up and running for our customers. And, people were supposed to work from home. There were, in the IT industry in general, cybersecurity, access to systems from home, just having the basic bandwidth available. Some of the things that you would take as granted over here, a lot of employees in the US would have gig bandwidth available at home. In India, we give dongles to people. But the most humbling experience was every employee, while everybody was very anxious, there was fear, there was confusion, the environment around them was of uncertainty. But everybody was thinking about the customer first. How can I keep the customer up and running? And I think that was very humbling. And that passion for the customer to keep things up and running was the driver, where some of the people actually picked up their desktops, got into a taxi, and took the desktop home on the last day, because the lockdown, especially in India, was a very drastic lockdown, like midnight.
Like a curfew.
A curfew, right? And so people went out of the way. If they would have waited for the company to send computing equipment and networking equipment to their homes, that would have never happened. So every employee stood up to be able to do it. And while I'm talking about Wipro, this happened for the entire Indian IT industry. And that is, again, kudos to the customer centricity that we have, the jugaad mentality, make things happen, and the passion to prove ourselves that we can do very well, we are very resilient, we can achieve the end objectives. I think all of that came together. Technologists always have ways, engineers find a way, they are problem solvers. So they found a way. But it was a great experience. Within about 4 days, almost 97% employees were able to work from home. And then obviously over time, we took care of their ability to work. Some people were given hotel rooms all over the world. The customers were very, very accommodative of how to keep things running by making some exceptions in data privacy, cyber security, network access, entitlement kind of activities. So, it was a great experience and a lot to learn from it.
Wow, what a story. And I love the word jugaad, by the way. That's why I'm here talking to you. So one more thing that stands out is, anybody you talk to these days, they are very busy. Everybody's busy. I'm very busy, right? Everybody you talk to are very busy. I'll call you back. Somebody, whatever they're doing, they're busy. $40 billion company. How did you keep work-life balance? How?
Well, this is my favorite topic. And if you're too busy, then you're not doing your work well. because you are busy because you're doing somebody else's work. Otherwise, corporate structures or business structures are always designed in a manner that you should have a lot of think time, a lot of family time in your hand. And the 2 or 3 reasons that I have seen why people stay busy. Number one, they stay busy because they do somebody else's work. They don't delegate enough. And especially it's very important for leaders to delegate. Do you have people in your team who are all waiting for your orders all the time, or are they self-driven? Are they better than you? Hiring people better than you and having them on the team is a very difficult thing for a leader, because they are the people who will push you back. They are the people who will challenge you. They are the people who are not going to be order takers and yes men and yes women. So you have to have that. Second is, I always think about time as a resource that you have, that you allocate to various things. And I just believe that, like a customer is important, and if a customer asks for a meeting, you always give, your family is equally important. So if it is your daughter's birthday, it goes in my calendar. And if it goes in my calendar like a board meeting or like a customer meeting, I'm always available to attend my daughter's birthday, because I know years in advance every year when my daughter's birthday is going to be there. So some of those things help you create much more life balance, because you can always get busy and say, oh, I've got such an important meeting, I can't attend your birthday, dear. And family understands. But a lot of times we take some part of our stakeholders as granted, whereas we would not do the same thing with other parts of the stakeholders. And I would just say, like, treat everybody like you treat your customer or your boss or whoever is the stakeholder you prioritize the highest. Just equally prioritize society, community service becomes important. Your personal life and family becomes important. Of course, your work becomes important. Things you're passionate about, and just thinking time. How do you strategize? How do you think? So to me, work life, when you talk about a balance, that word itself is a problem, because you balance when there are two disjointed things. Like tarazu mein aap tolta hai na? This is a continuum. And in today's technology world, in virtual world, you're working for a few minutes and then you're living for a few minutes and then you're working again. And if you are in a job which you are passionate about, then that is your life.
Wow. Very, very well done. So, were there leaders that inspired you?
Oh, there are many, many leaders who inspired me. And in different, I kind of learn all the time, because the day you stop learning, that day you stop living. So there are leaders like, Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King and others from a political perspective. How do you communicate? Just imagine a country at that time of 300-400 million people, or now 1 billion people, to be able to stand up against the strongest power of the world. Mahatma Gandhi was able to do it, or Martin Luther King over here was able to do it. And that is the ability to have people respect your vision, understand your vision, and follow you as a leader. And that's a big inspiration. Of course, how do you have a very holistic life? I am a Bori, and our religious leader Sayyidina Mufaddal Saifuddin and Muhammad Burhanuddin before that is an inspirational leader to how do you have a very holistic life where there is meditation, where there is faith, where there is loyalty to the country that you live in. All of that comes together. That's an inspiration for me. Of course, I've had the privilege of working with some very legendary leaders in the technology industry. People like Fakir Kohli, as I said, unfortunately, he passed away earlier this year. He's the father of Indian IT industry. I had ability to work closely with him.
Wow.
The two other CEOs of TCS, Ramadurai and Chandrasekhar and Chandra, who's now the chairman of Tata Sons, I had the opportunity of being mentored with him, and he's been a very inspirational leader. Working with Azim Premji for the last 5 years, what a leader. It's not only about serial entrepreneurship and building businesses, but how do you give back to the community?